Hey man, so here's the theory. Like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to make these theories, and I got one for you right here. You we keep seeing this Vision character, right? How many times has he died? At least 3 or 4 times by now. They just like to
A
just
lot.
kill him off quite a bit, right? His name is Vision, right? He's died as much as Kenny has in South Park at this point. I'm wondering if they're trying to foreshadow we keep losing our vision. And I think it's just talking about like Daredevil's coming soon. We go get some more Daredevil because he's blind, He's what is going on, everybody? And welcome to another Pretentious review.
Just yeah.
This time, episode 4 and 5
5
of
double
Marvel's
feature, guys. Double
double
feature.
feature because we had Shang-Chi last week, Marvel's What If at Disney Plus. Of course, it's going to be a great show today. We got Doctor Strange and Marvel Zombies, awesome content, and of course, I am Justin, the Culture Coyote, joined by the Disney Grizzly,
Disney Grizzly.
Lucas.
Lucas.
And if you like our reviews and you want to get more of them, please comment in the video below. Please subscribe, like the video, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. And you'll get more of our beautiful faces talking all this nerd stuff. If you like Disney content, Disney theme parks, food content, follow Adventures by Ables and In the Bat Loop on Instagram and YouTube as well. And please support our artist member, Jake's Designs RW.com. You can find Pretentious Pop Culture t-shirts as well as other great designs and use the promo code POPCULT to get 10% off your order when you check out. That being said, we got some stuff to talk about.
We do. There has been
Because
a lot of stuff since
this,
the last time we were talking about stuff.
all right. Now, Lucas is killing me because he has not seen the Matrix Resurrections trailer.
I've been
Seen
holding
it.
out for a react.
I have
I
cheated.
just wanted to
I
react
know.
to it for everybody.
He's gonna do it, and I might appear in the comments or maybe even appear on the video. But I have seen it. Oh boy, I've seen a lot on the internet. That's not a trailer that is making everybody happy, but it makes me happy. It is very up my alley. It is very weird, strange, and out there, and kind of it has the perfect song for the trailer. Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit, one of the greatest songs ever written. Um, and I'm really happy, really excited for that. And I think my excitement level is because I grew up really obsessed with the Matrix and philosophy and hard sci-fi like that. I think I'm more looking forward to this than anything, with Dune being a runner-up, and then of course Spider-Man, which
That's crazy because you were like hard pressed on Dune.
Well, it's more or less like Dune. I found out that they're only covering the first half of the first book with this movie, so it's going to end sort of abruptly. But that being said, they just did the red carpet premiere, and unless this is some fake news, I read that there was a 6-minute standing ovation at the end of it, which has never happened before. So
That's wild.
apparently it's pretty good. And yet IGN is going with their crap on their stupid reviews where they gave it like a really low score, where everybody else who reviewed it gave it a high score.
I haven't seen any reviews on it yet, so
IGN
I want to go in blind with Dune because I know Jack Diddle. So,
and IGN's reasoning was that it ends abruptly, and it tries to do too much of what's in the book. But that when you're adapting a work of art, like Lucas and I, one of our favorite movies of all time is Watchmen, and that is a straight up one-to-one recreation of the graphic novel with a slightly different ending. but the
It's an
dialogue
ending
is
that makes sense, actually.
right. And I mean, one day we're probably going to talk about Watchmen more, but I'm just using that. When you adapt material, sure, it could be improved by changing some things around with the film medium. But if you're trying to bring something to life, using the source material that directly could really enhance the movie for the fans and make it come to life as is the intention of Dune. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. But Matrix, just the trailer really sold me. Just the strangeness, just the unexpected
I'm gonna
visual
have to
style of it.
revisit the Matrix movies
Mhm.
before I watch this new movie because I watched them, but I know, like you said, you grew up with them, right? Like you,
I
that's what.
watched the trilogy like probably 7 times between like the time I was 15 and the time I was like
See, I didn't watch
25.
Matrix. I didn't watch the Matrix until I was in my 20s. So
Right.
I knew all like the memes. I knew all like the iconic scenes. I knew like the name of like the two characters, Agent Smith and Neo. That's all I knew, right? So when I watched the movies, like I liked them, but I didn't have the. I guess can't say I didn't have the same appreciation as some other people have for them. So like I watched them and I enjoyed them,
Right.
but like I
It's
watched them all once. Let's put it that way.
and I'm not in the crowd like I like all three of them equally. I think the first movie is there's a really good argument that the first movie is a better movie because it has a really good pacing, but I enjoy the entire story a lot. And but it's like I found that it's one of those things that like when you're thinking about the Matrix after you see the movies, and the more you watch them, the more layers that you dive deeper and you discover about it. Like the Alice in Wonderland connection, very apparent the first time you see it, but the
Yeah.
religious connection, you don't really get that he's Jesus. Like he's like an allegory for Jesus to an extent. But then there's the other allegory of like spiritual awakening and enlightenment, and it just keeps going and going, like technology and humans having that dependency. Are we killing ourselves? Are we a virus? Are we what are we? And it's just all these questions that you can keep asking years and years after having seen these movies, and always have new questions, new thoughts arise when watching these movies. They're so good. Plus the action's great. Some of the CGI has not aged well, but it's still enjoyable to an extent. Um, all great kung fu action, great car chases. What could you? I mean, it's the best. It's that gold standard of hard sci-fi kung fu cinema, and I'm so excited for the new one. But back to that's pretty much all we got. We got some we got the confirmation of No Time to Die, James Bond 4 coming out, or 5 coming out in October, and got a trailer for that. We got I'm trying to think of anything else because before we get to the Marvel stuff, because boy did we get a lot of Marvel stuff.
Well,
Injustice,
we
Injustice.
do. Oh yeah, the Justice trailer came out. I did do a little quick react to that over on our TikTok or Instagram as well. I'm really excited for it. It's rated R, so
Stunning,
the video games itself
shocking.
are rated teen, right? And they're from NetherRealm Studios, which are known for Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat's a very gruesome game.
Not very
So
PG-13 game
no,
there.
not at all. So the Injustice storyline is not a PG-13 rated storyline, in my opinion. It's not. It's very brutal. It's very violent. I've read up to a year. I'm on year one in reading. I haven't read the comic books all the way through, but I have year one, volumes 1 and 2, and there's a scene in there where Spider-Man. Wow, Superman obliterates the Green Lantern Corps, obliterates the whole Corps. So
Does he pull an
that
Omni Man on the core?
that's that's the level of brutality that Superman shows in Injustice. So the fact it's rated R, I have really high hopes for it. I hope it's really good. I have my fingers crossed. Animation style looks amazing. I like the
It does.
animation style. Yeah.
I saw. So if you go to TikTok, Pretentious Pop Culture on TikTok, you can find Lucas, the Disney Grizzly, reacting to the trailer, which I saw, he made a lot of points that I agree with. That yeah, the animation style is very crisp. It's like the previous movies, but enhanced, like the previous DC
It
films, but
it
enhanced.
looks like I said it in the React. It looks like the new Mortal Kombat animated movies. The way the characters are designed.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen those or not, or anything about those
I
movies.
looked up some screenshots afterwards.
Okay, so they look like the same character designs, like the
Yep.
same like kind of blocky, very stylized designs, and that works because it looks like a comic book, and I like it, and it looks more like the comic book pages, so I'm
Right.
okay with it.
Um,
Something else that we got going on, Spider-Man 2 dropped.
before before we get to all the Marvel stuff, I was gonna say
Uh,
we're having, what are they doing, another Haunted Mansion movie? Is that what's going
oh
on?
yes,
Okay.
so in October, first off, in October we're getting a Disney's Muppets Haunted Mansion, which is the Muppets doing a Haunted Mansion like special. I'm all excited for it. We have Darren Cross. Darren Cross. Ah, man, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a main star, one of the main stars from Glee. He's actually in the special, but that's not what we were talking about. Sorry, I just segued out a little bit. But we are getting a live action Haunted Mansion remake, not a reboot, a remake. So it's a complete new movie.
So Muppets and a regular non
Yes,
Muppet movie. Oh, okay, cool.
yes. So stars that we have coming into this movie confirmed right now: Owen Wilson, Rosario
Wow.
Dawson, and Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, Rosario's just coming full swing ahead into Hollywood right now.
I
Like
like it. I like it.
she kind of went away for a while until she was on she was Claire in all the Marvel Netflix shows, but that was all I'd seen her in. Now she's Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, and she's going to have her own show.
Yeah,
Perfect fan choice too. The fans
it
asked for it.
was.
The fans got it. Now, if we can just get Sebastian Stan to play Luke
We're getting
Skywalker,
fan choices as well
um,
for other characters in Ahsoka. You know that, right?
no, but
We're getting Mickelson's brother as
well, yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn,
Lars Mickelson, yeah.
and we're getting Mina Masao as Ezra. So
Yeah,
they're really catering to fans for this one.
Lars reprising his role that
Yeah.
he voiced in Rebels. So that's
Anyways,
best casting.
the Haunted Mansion movie we don't know anything about. We just know that it's supposed to be actually like spookier than Eddie Murphy's more comedic role. Even though
Why would they cast Owen Wilson and Tiffany Haddish if it wasn't going to be humorous?
I'm sure we're going to still have the Disney humor that we come to expect from Disney movies, but I'd like to see a more maybe Curse of the Black Pearl style Disney movie.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
where there's a little bit of humor, but it's mostly dark and serious tone. Yeah,
exactly. I really like that, and I like that they're trying. We're going to retry because I liked the Eddie Murphy movie when I was younger, and I watched it again when I was older, and it's funny. It's funny to me, but it's
that movie gave me weird dreams afterward. Not nightmares,
Yeah.
but just like weird dreams that
Yeah.
I liked it. That was really young for me when that came out. Like
There's definitely aspects of that movie that I liked, and being a fan of the ride itself and like the lore of the story of the rides and the rides itself, but it didn't match up. So I wonder if they're gonna with the lore that Disney has built with their rides, I wonder if they're gonna pay more homage to that side of it or just try and rebuild its own thing. So
as long as they write a good script, they cast a good cast, and they make a good movie. I mean, we saw Cruella was pretty decent, not exactly what we wanted, but pretty decent movie.
Jungle Cruise was a decent movie. So
I like Jungle Cruise. I mean, Disney is not like there was a time, I think last year or the year before, when like movies like A Wrinkle in Time came out, where it was just like and Artemis Fowl was enjoyable, but it was still like
I still haven't watched that. Unfortunately,
it's worth watching, I think, but it's it's not like a
masterpiece
Bravo kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's really Disney, I think, they're earning that trust back that they can do stuff that's not just Marvel and still make it good. So we'll see that. Um, Another thing too, this has nothing to do with movies, but just for all you kids that grew up watching Blue's Clues, I was brought to tears because Steve, the actor who plays Steve, kind of went on, I think, some promotional video where he did this like, "Hey guys, remember me? We grew up together. I left. I'm sorry I left. It was abrupt." And you should go look him up on YouTube. His message to his fans. It was very moving and humorous, and it was cool to see. He looks so like nothing's changed except he's bald, which is funny enough why he left Blue's Clues in the first place. But anyway, I digress. Just go look that up. It's very touching. But on to Marvel.
While you were talking, I was going to pull it up just a
Oh,
little
you're
bit.
gonna pull it
Yeah,
up.
I was
Pull it up.
I'll pull it up. All right, I'll pull it up.
Well, he's
But
so while he's pulling that up, a lot of people like I'm an Uber driver, so I talk to a lot of people, and Blue's Clues has actually come up in a conversation dynamically before, and people are like, "Wow, he left because he was on drugs." Not true. He didn't leave for any other reason except that he was embarrassed because he was losing his hair, and he wanted to go to college and do other things. So look at him. He's barely aged except his head, or
You remember how when we were younger we used to
I cried,
run
man.
around and hang out with Blue and find clues? And
it was really
freak out about the mail and do all.
like I don't want you to play the whole thing, but like
I'm not.
long.
It's just this is
big news. I'm leaving.
On Twitter, Nick Jr. on Twitter.
Got on a bus.
It's for the 25th anniversary.
See each other.
Yeah,
That's what you did this for.
Can we just talk about that?
I like how he's still talking
Great.
as if he's in the show.
I realized that was kind of abrupt.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Went to college.
I relate. At the end, he says, What have we done? Look at what you've accomplished so far." And he says something like student loans, and I'm like, I can relate to that right there.
I know you can. He says a lot
like,
of things that you can relate to. 'Cause we grew up with him.
Yeah. I remember this PC
He's
game.
almost 50 years old.
He looks so good for his age. What the heck?
It's like 47.
Man, he can get out of here. He was a hot dude in his 50s without hair, okay? So he should never have been embarrassed. He has kept his youthful image. Anyway, but let's get back into the main event. We got Marvel stuff. Number one, Venom it was delayed, but supposedly with the success of Shang-Chi in the movie theaters, in the box office, which has done
the
phenomenally.
number one rated superhero movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a 98% score.
It also broke Labor Day weekend box office records
during pandemic.
No, but regardless of the pandemic.
No, that's what I'm saying. During a pandemic.
Yes. Yeah. So not like for the pandemic records, but like just records in general, even during a pandemic. So movie theaters are not going away. We're going to have this resurgence come back. Spider-Man's probably going to be this is probably like first base. Eternals and Matrix probably going to be second base, and Spider-Man's going to be that home run we need to really get the investors back on track with these movie theaters. And I'm really excited for that. We can wave goodbye to our HBO Max day one movies at the end of this year, even though Matrix is included on that. So if you still aren't comfortable going to the theater, you will still be able to watch Matrix Resurrections on a streaming platform. But Lucas, we also had a PlayStation conference this Thursday. Yes! What happened? What has got our Jimmy Jams in a twist with that conference?
Well, I know we're in the middle of Marvel stuff, but the one that got me the most spiced up was the God of War Ragnarok trailer. I know we're in Marvel, and I know this is where
we can talk about God of War. We can talk about God of War.
Now that we're in the PlayStation talk,
yeah.
God of War Ragnarok has me feeling some kind of way.
I actually so the reason we brought up the conference in general is because there was some Marvel announcements, but we'll get to that in a second. God of War Ragnarok looks and plays like nothing of that was surprising. It's as good as I imagined it to look that good. I imagined it to be that much of an improvement. So it just kind of met my expectations. Getting to see Tyr, the Norse god of war, and how tall he was, getting to see kind of the environment, all just that game is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and everybody agrees. Nobody's in denial of how phenomenal that game was. I was very impressed by that, but it wasn't the most surprising thing to me because every game they showed was surprising. But Lucas, before I get to those other games, what did you think of God of War? Tell me. You bringing something up? He's bringing it up. That's Tyr. Yeah,
That's Tyr. That is Kratos, the god of war of Greek mythology. After he kills Ares, and this is Tyr, the god of war in Norse mythology, squaring up.
just having like a little bit of a pissing contest with Kratos here. Now, granted, I like the Norse gods a lot, but like Kratos, he's gonna tear him apart if he has to. Like, you're gonna play as Kratos, you're gonna possibly just give that guy a whole new serving of hand sandwich or something. I don't know. I can't. Anyway. Yeah, Kratos is awesome. God of War is probably in, if not the number one melee combat simulator of all time, it's up there with the best. And then this is the image right here that everybody is upset about for some reason. I don't know why. Because he's fat.
So throughout history, strong men, like warriors, this is the build they would have. And as Thor being like the brute that he is, the fact that he has a strong man's body, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, he's got
People
like
are
a
making fun of it.
Tom
They're saying
Hardy
like,
Bane, build kind of here.
they're making fun of it. They're saying like, hey, they're trying to make Chris Hemsworth fat Thor. They're saying that they got their idea from Marvel. No, this is the body. Think of the mountain from Game of Thrones. Like, think of him in real life. His body structure is not like chiseled abs and like bodybuilder like physique. It's a strong body. It's a layer of fat over pounds of muscle.
Yeah, the strongest man in the world has a build similar to that. Well, not as thick in the middle, but like.
But he looks like he would be Thor, and I love it.
The momentum behind his hammer swings. I mean, all that weight and
I'm
meat
excited.
coming at you.
I am so utterly excited. God of War is in my top 5 favorite.
Do you think that's how we're going to pick up the sequel, Fighting Thor, immediately right off the rip? Because that's how the first one. Oh, we're spoiling the hell out of the first one. Anyway, spoilers for God of War 4, not counting the mobile games. So yeah, right at the end of it, Thor shows up, and you don't get to fight him, but he's like, "Hey, I'm Thor. Let's go!" And Hammer comes out.
I don't think you're gonna fight him. I think he's going to be like a looming threat, essentially, maybe, or he comes and beats the living daylights out of you, where it's like a unwinnable boss fight at the first part of the game.
Can Kratos die?
Yeah, he can die.
Okay. I mean, I know you can in the game.
So already stated from the creator it's Monica Studios, right?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica Studios. They said this is a twofer part. It's not a trilogy. It's not a continuation. There's only 2 games in this story.
But they said in the Norse saga. So correct. Please give us Egypt next. Please, we've done Greek. We've done Norse. Please give us
There is a very hot theory that Kratos might die in this game. And we continue on the God of War legacy, either as Atreus or they introduced here. So we might move on to another God of War within like the pantheon of gods. I want to keep Kratos. I want to just see him rip through all the gods of any no religion, personally. But
yeah, what if the next one is he's just fighting Jesus? Like he's just
punching Jesus.
Jesus is like, I'm gonna turn water into wine. He uses his chain whips to smack the wine ball over. Jesus is like, I don't want to fight.
Please.
Jesus takes off his sandal. Chancla. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
That's hilarious. You got to admit.
But I love it. I love everything about it. And my top 5 favorite video game titles is God of War. and the other ones as well. It's not just the one that came up for PS4. The other ones are in my top favorite game titles as well. So
I'm not a big fan. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's
but
move
anyway,
on.
so let's move into the Marvel stuff.
I
Sorry,
love God
I
of
stole
War.
the
I love God
stage.
of War. Well, I
Sorry,
did
stole the
before
stage
that.
for
Before
this.
that, just a quick celebration of Sony in general, because we got Forspoken, we got what's the other game? Project Eve. Both of those games, like, I don't have a PS5. It's going to be a bit before I can get one. I hate that it's so hard to get one, but luckily these games aren't coming out tomorrow. But by the time they do, those games look great. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, classic BioWare
I forgot to talk
RPG,
about that.
my favorite like Star Wars game ever. Besides, I think Fallen Order is a little bit better because it's a modern game with like
Favorite Star
really
Wars
good
game?
characters.
Bounty Hunter. I love it. I love it.
Spam the X button to shoot. Just pew, 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 pew,
Or
pew, 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 pew.
or the arcade game where you had the joystick. You know what I'm talking about? It was the big black joystick, and you sat inside like the seat, and you got
The BBJ, the big black joystick. Lucas, shush. Anyway, yes, the Star Wars, obviously one of the greatest IPs to make video games about, right? And we've been kind of, there's been like a drought. I mean, we've gotten the Battlefront games, we got Squadrons. All three of those games are kind of like decent, but not anywhere near what we grew up with.
Oh,
Fallen Order comes out, bringing that Star Wars energy coming out back out, and it's like this is what we have the ability to experience in the future. Let's make more content like this. Knights of the Old Republic remake has been asked about for so long that
well, this
we're
makes
finally
me
getting.
wonder, though, right? So that involved. I don't want to get into too much of a Star Wars deep dive here.
We're almost done with our side content.
Yeah, but since a lot of the stuff Disney is behind on Star Wars now, they said it's not it is canon if it's created since they took over the properties. Is this a hint at Old Republic's canon? Do you think?
It so it it's been referred to, it's been alluded to be canon, but at this point, number one, they could change the story with this remake somewhat to make it more fitting. Number two, it really doesn't matter because it's thousands of years prior to the Skywalker saga, and Disney has yet to make anything canon that goes earlier than Episode One, Phantom Menace.
High Republic, the High Republic stuff that's out right now is canon.
But that's a book, right?
Yes, it's book. It's books.
So I will concede it's canon, but I don't know anything about it. But
me neither. I just know it is canon.
Right, but at that point, unless the High Republic disputes the KOTOR, the Knights of the Old Republic game story, then it doesn't matter if it's canon or not until they start bringing characters from it.
The only thing that makes me wonder is because like the Mandalore stuff that is involved in KOTOR.
There's so much lore with the Sith having a planet, with the Mandalores, having their own like kind of Kree and different way of doing things, and they're kind of jerks. This is back before
and how Revan was highly involved in the Mandalorian Wars. Like,
yeah,
exactly. So
we'll see.
Mandalore is a very hot thing with the Disney canon right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering maybe this leads into like Revan and Nihilus and on like Malik and
Nihilus.
Yeah, like all these characters.
So we'll. I mean, those. I do think when it comes to Star Wars, I think the best like point A to point B story we've ever gotten is the Knights of the Old Republic game number one. Number two kind of feels like a fan fiction, so that is the one with Nihilus, but it's just kind of like a weird.
The Sith vampire.
Yeah, it's like a weird, kind of side thing because you don't even play as the same character that you played in the first one, which was really disappointing. But I am wondering how they're going to do the combat. I do hope it's more in line with like not a turn-based combat, because turn-based is fine, but like in 2021, 2022, whenever it's coming out, it's a little outdated for a Star Wars type game. So I hope if they're going to do, I hope they do the combat justice. But moving on, finally getting into 2 announcements. We got PlayStation conference on Thursday. Lucas, what Marvel announcements do we get?
The first one we got is Wolverine.
Is that Keiko?
Oh, yes, honey. The first announcement we got is Wolverine, and I'm about to pull something up for you guys. Wolverine is made by Insomniac Studios, the same people that brought us that great Spider-Man game that we all love.
Well, Insomniac has, I believe, 2 studios or 3 studios. The studio that worked on Spider-Man Miles Morales is working on Wolverine.
Is it?
Yeah. And then the studio that worked on the first Spider-Man is working on what else was announced?
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, which we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming,
but the fact that we got it.
Well, right. I mean, we got like a 15, 20-second trailer, and we'll finish talking about the Wolverine. This looks like it's going to be rated M because he's got blood all over his arm, which is not something you typically have in a teen game. So, which is necessary when you're telling a good Wolverine story. When you're telling a good Wolverine story, you have characters that aren't related to Wolverine at all come on the screen. That's how you know it's a good Wolverine.
Yeah, that's exactly
just
how
kidding.
you know.
No, when you're telling a good Wolverine story, it's got to be mature. It has to have the swearing, the blood, the graphics. Yeah, so right off the rip, like you guys, I watched this channel called Kind of Funny on YouTube. They were reacting to this, and they had the same exact reaction that I did when you first see this trailer. You see this figure, and you're like, you see it's Insomniac, and you're like, oh, Wolverine, he's going to be in the next Spider-Man game, and it just keeps going. And Greg Miller, he was like, is this just a Wolverine game? As soon as I thought the same thing, and then boom, Wolverine appears. And yeah, we're getting a Wolverine game by people who know how to make good comic book games.
So, 2 things. Do you think this Wolverine game is it set in the same universe as Spider-Man?
It is. So they're building their own. Insomniac is building their own video game MCU.
Okay. So second thing I want to talk about. Wolverine already has 2 pretty good games in my opinion. We have X2 Wolverine's Revenge. Really like that game.
That's the obscure one that I love. Mark Hamill played.
It's super good. Yeah. It's super good in my opinion. If you have access to play it, go try it. Really good.
It's very, very, very dated at this point. But yeah, I mean, if you like older
games. Even though this movie was bad and it was a movie tie-in movie, X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition is super good.
That game's a masterpiece for what a Wolverine game can be at the time.
Good.
There's so many questions we have, and going by those 2 awesome games. This is a PlayStation exclusive, so it'll be only on PlayStation 5. That being said, the graphics are going to be these high fidelity. You've seen Insomniac's first Spider-Man game, how impressive that was on PlayStation 4, and how impressive Miles Morales is on PS5. So with those tools at your disposal, you're going to make something really good looking. How's it going to play? Is it going to be an open world game? Is it going to be a shorter game like Miles Morales? Is it going to be, first off, who's voicing Wolverine? Are they going to bring back Steve Bloom? The classic.
That'd be awesome.
I mean,
that would be awesome.
He would. It would, and he would do it, and he's not that expensive, so that seems reasonable. But they could cast their own. Yuri Lowenthal and Steve Bloom. Yuri Lowenthal voiced Peter in their Spider-Man game. They've worked on multiple projects together, so they know each other. I don't see why Insomniac wouldn't get Steve Bloom, but maybe if they want something fresh, they could change it up.
I think something fresh would be good for them.
You don't want,
but he's too iconic of a voice, and we don't have voices.
Yeah, it would feel weird Yeah.
The only iconic voice that I can think of in the Spider-Man world right now would be someone who we're going to talk about in a little bit, who's not even actually, we haven't even actually seen what he can do yet. So, but what I want to see from this game is comparing it, since I said X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition. When you fight in that game, when you take damage, you see the damage and you heal up over time. Whereas in the other Wolverine game I talked about, you don't see that. You just, you heal back over time. So I hope
they'll definitely do that. They will do
which
that.
Which will be phenomenal.
They will do that. They will probably have, because of the collision, the particles and the physics that they're allowed to have with this 16 gigabytes of RAM or however many RAM. It's a lot in the PS5. They'll be able to probably make damageable clothes so that your clothes will get damaged and you'll see the like actual damage healing up while your clothes remain. I don't know. They know what they're doing, Lucas. This is Insomniac.
Do you want to see a more obscure villain being played out within the Wolverine game, or do you want, like, because take Spider-Man, right? Granted, we had Dr. Octopus as the final boss, right? And we had him in the main storyline, but the Negative Man isn't is an obscure villain, and he was a pretty big part of that game. So
he was the boss of the first half of the game, whereas Octopus was the boss of the second half of the game.
Exactly.
That game is so perfect in how they executed that, and then they used Silver Sable as well as all the DLCs,
and then Hammerhead as well. Hammerhead was the big bad finally, and all that.
Like, who are they going to do next other than Venom and Norman? I mean, and we're gonna talk about that because I know exactly.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So Wolverine, Omega Red, probably we should.
You want
Omega
probably
Red? Get. Yeah, because they hinted at Omega Red in the X2 Wolverine game where he was there, but they never did anything with him. And I mean, Sabretooth. I mean, granted, if you're going for like classic Wolverine, you're going to go with Sabretooth, but like we've seen that before. We don't want that.
The funny thing is, they could also put Deadpool in it because of X, like the Weapon X project.
Weapon X, yeah. I don't want Deadpool in this Wolverine.
Oh, I don't either. I want a serious game. I want a serious game.
Yeah.
I want a very compelling story because
maybe in a sequel.
Even though Wolverine was made to be like the edgy, grungy character for Marvel, it was like the response to like Lobo, like kind of like how Lobo was like the DC's Wolverine, because Wolverine came out first and everyone likes those like edgy anti-hero-esque characters.
It's funny because like now,
but he has really compelling stories, and I hope we touch base on those.
And it's like my wheels are spinning in my head because they, Insomniac's proving that they can do more than just one superhero. I'm like thinking maybe give us a Punisher game too. That would be really good.
Punisher makes sense, and we already also have like the Thomas Jane Punisher game, which was fun.
That game was like one of the most violent games of its time.
Yeah, I know. And think of what you could do now.
You could like shred people with a wood chipper. Anyway, so that's Wolverine. I have absolute 100% faith in Insomniac. They have more than earned my trust with the masterpiece, perfect 10 out of 10 Spider-Man game that they made with Yuri Lowenthal. Granted, I haven't played Miles Morales, but I can't imagine that's anything less. This is the other big announcement.
Here we are.
Speaking of Miles and Peter, who they are.
Teaming up together.
We knew it was coming, and here it is. Miles has a nice new suit. Probably the same suit from the game that I haven't played yet, but I'm waiting to get a PS5 before I sink my teeth into that.
It's sleek.
Yeah. And there is a character talking in the background who we do not get to see in this trailer.
But we know
But he has a Russian accent, and he's talking about hunting. So
it's Craven. It's 100% Craven.
It's definitely Craven.
100% Craven. And we're getting Craven in the Sonyverse too, in the Spider-Man Sonyverse. So That's also coming, guys.
Maybe. Oh yeah.
No, it's confirmed.
The movie.
We already got him
I
casted. And everything.
I thought you were thinking. Yes, absolutely. So, which we're seeing these parallels.
Year of the Craven, baby.
We see these parallels, which makes me wonder with the Wolverine game coming out, maybe there's going to be a Wolverine movie soon before they even do the X-Men movie. Maybe Wolverine gets the movie first. We'll see.
I mean, it would be fun. It could be a way to explain it because he is one of the, besides like Apocalypse, of course, he's one of the older living mutants. That's mainstream to segue mutants into the MCU.
Yeah. We have not even gotten a what if yet, but this is our last story. So
if we get a Wolverine movie where he's still James Howlett in like the 1600s.
Yeah, but like better than the one that we got.
But I mean like a whole movie, not just like a 5-minute like throw around.
Yeah, if you get like the magic behind the people who did like the first Captain America movie, but you do it with Wolverine and it ends with like a time jump instead of how Captain America ended where he's in the ice and they wake him up. Or how about this one ends where Weapon X wakes him up and they're giving him the adamantium and the last shot is
Captain America is the oldest like timeline of the movies, right?
Until Eternals comes out.
Is Eternals before?
It's going to be
yeah, they're going to touch on the ancient points.
It's going to be on
but
different time.
Having a Marvel movie set as another period piece, Wolverine's your character.
Just nice Vancouver in the 1800s, or I don't know. You said 1600s. That's too far.
He's like a farm boy in like the 1600s.
It's the 1800s though. I don't think it's the 1600s.
No, I'm thinking of 1602, the Marvel comic. Yeah, where they're all like medieval. Okay,
that would be 1802 though, wouldn't it? Yeah. 1602. Oh, there's both. There's two of them because there's one where they're in Victorian London, and that's like 18 something.
I have that. Yeah.
And then there's one. There's like two. Yeah, Victorian London is 1800s though, not 1600s.
No, it's 1602. 1602. It's like.
This is why. Never mind. Don't ask me any history questions.
Like Daredevil's like a traveling bard with like a red handkerchief on. Okay. And like Nick Fury is like the protector of the Queen of England.
But isn't there one where it's like steampunk and everybody has horse carriages and like umbrellas?
I'm sure. I don't know
about goggles.
That one. I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't matter. 1408. I don't know. That's the freaking
1408
movie. That's the John Cusack movie with Sam Jackson. Anyway, back to Spider-Man. We also get our first look and audio of Venom, who still unclear if spoilers for Spider-Man, and really please close your ears because this is such a huge surprise for the first game if you care about this spoiler. Harry Osborn had the symbiote suit. And we're wondering, is Venom still Harry here? But we did get announced who is playing Venom, who I think is perfect casting, and I don't think Lucas agrees. I think he's hating on the casting, aren't you? This Tony Todd is playing Venom, and Lucas was just like, I hate that guy. He's a terrible actor, and I never want to see him in anything.
Why are you lying so much? Like I'm trying to like let you like be like, no, I'm lying. I'm being a butthole, but like, why are you lying? Like this is. Like I hear him saying like, "Be my victim."
Like you froze. I think this is the perfect casting. Like this is who should have played the voice in the live action. There is not
if
anybody
has seen Candyman, which is what he's hugely known for. What I just quoted there, that line right there, I could see Venom saying. And the fact that I could just hear him going like, "We are Venom."
And we also get with this design of Venom's face, great looking. Big question: is he gonna have the white spider.
We saw the
That's-
white spider in the trailer.
Okay, maybe I'm just blind. Maybe I got the Matt Murdock
Like
syndrome.
when the trailer's happening, and then when they segue off of Venom's face, it's the white spider that comes up, and then Spider-Man 2. And it's on a black background. But it's on a black background. It's not like red on. It's not. It's also not shaped like the same white spider on Peter's new costume.
And fans brought up something that I want Peter to get the black suit, and I want Miles to have to fight Peter while he's wearing the black suit.
What if Peter dies in his universe?
Oh, Jesus Christ! We can't have Peter and Miles. I want both of them.
I mean, that'd be fun, but one.
Well, I mean, if they had to kill him after 2 25-hour games,
balance of power.
If they have to kill,
What if the Venom we see is actually Peter in the costume? Also, I just want to point out that Venom, the way he looks, is very Todd McFarlane. I want to see the body on him. If he's like ultra muscly and huge, then I'll retract that
muscle right here.
If he's like, you know how they designed Venom, like the original design of Venom, like he looks more like a predatorial like monster, not like an over buff like physique Greek god. Like he looks more like the Predator from the Predator movies, like the way he's like built. He's not like a mountain of a man. So
the Predator.
Think of the build. Think of the build. Think of the build of the alien.
Not that big.
But that's the way the original Venom was designed. But progressively as the years got on, he just got more and more bigger, like Hulk-sized almost, with how like muscly and like oversized he gets. So
all I know is my favorite Venom is the Venom from the 2000s Spider-Man game for PlayStation 1. The not Tobey Maguire one, the one where Stan Lee narrates the entire time. Do you remember that game?
The Ultimate Spider-Man?
No, just it's an old Spider-Man game.
I do know.
The first boss is Scorpion, and
yes. I do know what you're talking about.
It was so bad, but so good. You could get a suit that turned invisible, but Venom was just a fun, happy dude. Like he wasn't a bad guy.
The one for me is Todd McFarlane's original design. That's my favorite design. But my favorite telling of Venom is in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon show. I really like the way they did that show, and I'm really upset it got canceled.
But that's what came out this week. We are really excited for all of that. But
that's a lot to download,
clicked
guys,
on this video.
If you're still here,
huge week.
Yeah,
huge
if you're
week.
Still here, sorry.
We're here to have that discussion. So hopefully they will be forgiving. We'll probably add some like little timestamps in the description later on where they can get to the review. Because right now, we skipped last week because we had the marvelous Shang-Chi to watch and cover in theaters. And until our schedules are more free, probably only able to do this one review a week. So here we go. We're going to start off with episode 4 of Marvel's What If.
What if Doctor Strange lost his heart
instead of his hands? Yeah. Which it was funny. This is like one of the most instantly memeable episodes with all these depressing memes, because it's like I didn't really have like the second episode we talked about was a feel good episode. The first one arguably a feel good episode as well, but
this is a feels bad episode.
Yeah, the third episode was trying to be that, but it was like we just didn't care enough because it wasn't that impactful. This one told a really good story that gave you the feels, and in 30 minutes.
It did what you said you liked about the What If shows. It gave you like a very small snippet of an established story and then flipped it on its head.
Yeah, and it started off number one, we didn't get the movie redone. We did not get the movie redone. We got a recap of what had already happened, and then how it was different, and then, like you said, completely new story, completely unrelated to anything that we've seen already. That's what What If has the opportunity to do. Um, Retreads are okay, but like I'm interested in the new and bold and different, where episode 2 of What If really gave us that. This one, very, very, very self-contained, very only really mostly Steven focused. Not a lot of other characters in this, mostly Steven dealing with his internal struggle of the tragedies that happened to get him to where he was.
Yeah, like I like Doctor Strange. He's definitely more your like favorite. So, but I can say the Doctor Strange Supreme. I like him. I like how he doesn't. I like how he doesn't care what happens to achieve the end goal. Like he's the personification of what Stephen Strange could have been. It's not like a what if story. It's like could have been story. It's like what if you have like it's like you
There's
have all
some
these powers.
background
You
noise.
you have all these powers in the world. You have all these powers in the world, but you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And it's a great story about it.
Right, and it's like one of those, it's in a sense, other than the fact that like Christine does die, like again, spoilers, but Christine died instead of him having his hands broke. Um, this almost feels like it could have been a sequel if this had been the original story, because I think in the comics he had a wife and daughter that died in the car wreck. I can't remember. I think there was one story where that happened. So I think this was more like in line with that. But this feels like it could have been a sequel to the first Doctor Strange that took place after Endgame, because this takes place, I believe, after Endgame. No, because he still has the time stone. So it takes place before Endgame. So
yeah,
it technically he defeats Thanos in this because he destroys the entire universe. But I also like this one. This one.
Well, this Doctor Strange almost looks like a Nexus being,
No, a Nexus being is not. He's not Nexus.
Close to it.
No, a Nexus being is can't have any variants. So he can't be Doctor Strange. Cannot be a Nexus being. Not even Kang is a Nexus being.
Well, at least a mega level. Then like an omega level threat. Then.
Okay, arbitrary term utilized. Okay, I don't know.
That's a term used for.
I know it's probably used, but like it's not really pertinent. I don't know in your head canon, sure, but like he's very bad. He destroyed an entire universe. This is like this would have been cool to have like a Doctor Strange sequel where instead of fighting like Dormammu or Shumagorath or Mephisto, he was fighting evil Doctor Strange himself and having an internal and external conflict, which we get to see in 30 minutes. It's cool. We get to see that. This is, does the thing that Marvel has not done yet until granted, you can count the previous episode, What If Earth Lost Its Mightiest Heroes, where all the heroes died, but then we end with Captain America's coming back, Captain Marvel's on Earth, and who else was still alive? There was 3 heroes at the end of it that were still fine. Yeah, so everybody was fine. Like yes, the heroes died, but things were going to be fine because we still had some people left over. And granted, Spider-Man's still there. Doctor Strange is still alive. So it was still somewhat of a hopeful ending. Was there hope in the end of this one?
There wasn't nothing at the end of this.
There was no. This was the first time we've ever seen a serious thing where the ending was actually bad. Like not bad as in bad quality, but like horrible, like a tragic ending. This was actually a tragic
Like,
ending.
I didn't accept that episode was over.
You watch the credits going, so what happened? What happened?
Yeah, no, I just sat there watching it, like mouth open, slack jaw, stunned, shaken, stirred, flipped over, reshaken, poured into a vodka drink, and then drank back up again. Like, I didn't want to accept it. I didn't.
And for argument's sake, we'll call the mainline Doctor Strange that we know that is in the movies. We'll call that 616 because Mysterio calls that Earth 616 in Spider-Man Far From Home. So we'll just call it 616. So 616 Doctor Strange, he's had a slightly like very 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 minor character development. He is mostly the same person that he's always been. He's just doing things for different reasons, but he still has the same exact personality. Whereas Tony Stark, who is very similar origin story, Tony began to feel like everything was his responsibility and he had to fix all of his past mistakes. Doctor Strange, yes, he is doing things for the good of mankind, but he's also doing things for the stroke of his own ego.
Yeah, he's still a very arrogant human being.
He wants to prove to himself and everybody else that he is the best. And this episode is the first time we've seen him not doing that, where he just wanted Christine back. He didn't care about anything other than that. And this episode also kind of reminds me of there's a Rick and Morty episode where they go to this him and Rick and Morty go to a clinic to shed off their negative energy, which just takes their negative
Toxic
energy
Morty and toxic Rick.
yes, and makes them a different version. And so this was like toxic Doctor Strange. So there's like two different versions. Granted, they made it very obscure because it was almost like that was happening in a different universe because evil Doctor Strange was in the library for thousands of years, whereas, or at least hundreds, whereas this Steven, the other Steven, was just modern day Steven going to fight him. So it's kind of like left to your interpretation of how they ended up together to fight each other, but it doesn't really matter in a 30 minute.
Well, no, because they say it. The Ancient One split Steven into two personalities.
Yeah, but that doesn't like one of the timelines would have been way into the future, whereas good Steven's here, bad Steven's here in the time. So how does he not meet up? Does this time not exist in the library?
Bad Steven went back in time
after he became strong. It's been a week, so he went back in time.
So the thing happened. So he goes back in time
to the library.
Oh,
the library of Cagliostro.
Yeah, so Steven Supreme, he goes back in time.
That sounds like a Taco Bell menu item.
You have Steven Supreme, you have spiders, you know what I'm saying? Like Superior Spider-Man.
Why did Taco Bell not make a menu item?
Steven Supremes or Steven Superiors, Doctor Strange Supreme, whatever you want to call him, evil strangey things. Strange evil. He goes back in time to the library Cagliostro. That's why he has a time stone. Remember, he uses a time stone.
Okay, it makes sense. And yes, he's got the time stone. So never mind. All explained. Let's digress from that to back to because like obviously that was just me having like brain cells knocked out.
It also touches on why he was able to beat Steven from like the good Steven because Ancient One split him into two personalities. Bad Steven and the good Steven. The good Steven one was supposed to be like the one who stops what was supposed to happen to bad Steven because the bad Steven only wants to do what he wants to do to keep his love in his life, come back his heart. Where good Steven is like the one who was on the straight path, who was like, I understand what needs to be done, so I need to move on to become better. So evil Steven has all these years of him, instead of learning the magic of the arts, because it kept absorbing deities. It started with like little creatures because that's all he could summon.
And we got the return of the Hydra creature, the eldritch creature from Peggy Carter's episode. Yeah.
So
octopus.
This Steven was set up like like I didn't know how bad of an ending it was going to be, but I knew this Steven was going to win the fight that the two had because of how many years of magical like experience he had on mainline Steven. I didn't think, because the one that we see in like the normal Stephen Strange clothes, he's like not, he still has a time stone, so it's before Thanos, right? So he's still like within that like time span of him figuring out how to be the Sorcerer Supreme, because I think the Ancient One had just died essentially. So he was still trying to figure everything out. Whereas this Steven, just years and years and years and years of constant like magical absorption. That's why his magic looks different. That's why he was able to do different things with his magic. And
it's not shocking that Stephen Strange would be able to have the mental fortitude and willpower to sit there agonizing and suffering for years and years and years through the absorbing process, because we've already seen him die horribly over and over and over and over again to defeat Dormammu in their little Mexican standoff at the end of the first Doctor Strange. So we know, and one of the reasons like why Doctor Strange is my favorite is because he has the greatest. Him and Steve Rogers have probably the best willpower of all the characters in the Marvel universe. But Strange's willpower is just, a little bit more dark, and less genuine, less wholesome. But it's just, he is willing to do whatever it takes, even if his motivations are completely out of whack. And that being said, I like, we haven't really touched on the animation. Really great animation, especially on Christine. My mom joked that the animated version of Rachel McAdams looks better than the live action version of Rachel McAdams. It was weird seeing Benedict Cumberbatch again without his facial hair in this. But as soon as he got his facial hair on, Doctor Strange is, I think, one of the best looking animated versions of his live action counterpart. I think the runner up we'll probably talk about. Yes, that looks just like.
But that's Sorcerer
Benedict
Supreme. That's Sorcerer Supreme one.
Yeah, still Benedict Cumberbatch's likeness, but going from there too, I did want to touch on kind of future spoilers for the next episode. I think Sebastian Stan's White Wolf look of the Winter Soldier in the next episode is probably the best looking live action transfer to cartoon or animated. But I thought everybody looked great. The Ancient One looked great. I liked the new character that we got, whose name I'm forgetting in the library, but he is played by a voice actor I know from Mass Effect. He played Javik in Mass Effect. Really great voice actor. I loved hearing him do something else. And I liked that we're getting new characters we haven't seen before. And I also like, I'm getting long winded, so feel free to cut me off if you need to, Lucas. But I also liked the fact that each episode we've gotten a little bit more and more of the Watcher. And so from whether that's silhouettes, voiceovers, or whatnot, this one, there is moments where we actually get to see his face talking talking to the character.
This universe got so screwed that the Watcher showed his face. That's the thing. And Stephen knew he was there. That's how strong this Doctor Strange became. This version of Stephen became. He was able to see the Watcher. And then the Watcher comes in and he's like, "You are selfish. You don't deserve this. You know what's coming and you caused this. Goodbye."
He says, "Sorry, not sorry." Which I wonder if
he was able to protect himself too. So this Strange is strong enough to be able to protect himself from a destroyed universe. He's able to cocoon himself into nothing, cocoon himself into nothingness. There's nothing left except for him in this universe.
Also, since you brought this screenshot up, what a great fight that the two of them had at the end. It was short and sweet, but by golly, like again, magic in Marvel, like superpowers in Marvel are a lot of the time boiled down to hand-to-hand fights or doing this with hand beams, little hand beams coming out. That's not that fun, right? Wanda doing these things a little bit cooler.
No,
Sometimes she looks really cool, but when Doctor Strange does different spells that have different effects, and you get to see those effects, how they're utilized, you get to see his cloak, you get to see all these different elements combining together. This is like, I remember like Harry Potter, probably the worst choreographed action for the most part, because it boils down to people doing this, holding a stick, like doing this thing right here and then energy's coming out and they're just kind of standing there. That's no fun. So if you want to have an actual sorcerer fight, do something like this, because this was awesome. This was a bunch of cool powers being used, each trying to one up the other.
I can't find a good still.
I know. But like, would you agree?
I was blown away by the animation for the magic and like what they could do for this episode. The movements didn't seem too super funky. Hey, Jake's in the comments. What's up, man?
That was Cagliostro? Caggy? Oh, the guy. Oh.
Obenye with two different irises.
Obenye, yeah.
Cagliostro's real name. I know I was late to answer. But
what's up, Nick?
Like the animation for this episode was stupendous for me for the actions. For the
but I think this was probably the most balanced in facial features and action.
Yeah.
And everything else. Like
the movements sometimes when they're like doing like normal movements are still kind of like finicky for me. Like just like walking or like, moving back and forth. They're a little finicky for me personally, like watching it with my eyes. But the fight with them, ooh, spicy. Like I love that this Strange, that's just that Strange Supreme Sorcerer Supreme Strange had a black and red magic scheme, because we're so used to magic in the MCU being gold. Have you noticed that? It's a very gold theming, except for Wanda and Agatha's purple and red. So I like that this Strange had a
green when they're using the Time Stone as well.
Yeah. Well, the Time Stone's not really magic; it's more celestial like power. So difference. But I liked how this Strange had a more like it looked evil. It wasn't the same thing. He wasn't using like the signals. He wasn't using like the hand signs. He wasn't using like the ropes that they would use. Like it's like energy beams and like fire essentially, and it looks amazing.
Yeah. And we also got the evil Strange using his, like, as you can see in this shot, all the eldritch powers that he's absorbed kind of popping out, and like he, just showing that he's a grotesque monster. One more thing, a couple more things. The environments. I think the best environments we've gotten with What If episode 2, obviously with Star-Lord, T'Challa, great space environments, all these new places we've never been to, the bar, the collectors, different spots that we got to visit, all these new places. This one, the library, looked really cool. And every time we get like a new environment like that, it really does something for me. I love how creative the artist can be. Also, like the story of this, I think this is the best script. Like if you're comparing scripts of each episode,
it looks like
this one
a script of a movie. That's like you said, like it's a perfect script. Like it looks like it could be like a movie.
Yes, and it's like this one has the best writing. Like as far as like the plot, the dialogue, what's actually happening, how it's resolved, how it's built up, how it's paced, because it starts off with this. The big question is, what if Christine died? And it's kind of jarring because their relationship was never that fierce in the first movie. They seem like an on again, off again fling. They didn't seem like so. But in this one, they're like, hey, this is a universe where he wasn't a jerk. He was actually a nice dude, and so he made it work with Christine. Then the tragedy of losing her, not him being a jerk, not his like coming to terms with his own hubris. This one is no, he just wants Christine back. Can't
Yeah.
get her back, but learns magic, uses magic because he's a good guy already, and having to reconcile his suffering. And it's one of those questions like, why do I have to suffer? I just saved everybody. I can't at least have Christine. Like, didn't I earn that by saving the universe? Like, I died like 15,000 times
It's
for
just
Dormammu.
100 times
Yeah,
more than what he went through in the main timeline. I
yeah.
mean, like, it's
So
like, I suffered so much. Why can't I have my hands back?
yes, but he decided at the end of that he can deal without his hands. That he can only because he has to like a refresher for the movie. He could totally heal his hands, but he would not be able to use magic. So he has to use all his magic to either heal his hands or just use the magic. I think most people would pick magic because magic's cool. And hands, magic can fix hands, and
Hand.
so yeah, but at this one, he doesn't really have that, so he's not burdened by anything but the loss of Christine, which he really truly believes I can get her back. But because just like in the book, The Time Machine, the whole reason he becomes Sorcerer Supreme is because she died. So if he fixes her from being dead, then he would never have had a reason to become Sorcerer Supreme. So he just keeps reliving that same loop over and over again.
In this universe, her dying is part of like the grand plan.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do in the past. She just keeps dying no matter what happens. It reminds me of like the game 12 Minutes, which is really cool. It's just another time loop where no matter what happens, the same thing's always going to happen. No matter what you change, the same outcomes
Groundhog
occur.
Day, Happy
Groundhog
Death Day.
Yeah.
Same concept.
So and it's good. I mean, and granted, we get that, but the pacing of this episode, that could have been drawn out a little bit more. This could have used another 15. All of the episodes, for the most part, could have used another 15 minutes to really dive
TVA
deep.
have come to save Christine.
Yeah, they could have really used that extra fluff to kind of let us linger. But we get past that, and then it becomes just good versus evil Doctor Strange, and of course he's that my favorite part is when he finally does successfully initially save Christine while the whole world is being destroyed because
He
of
is
the paradox.
terrified because
Yeah,
creatures
because
are
he is
exploding from him.
yes, he has turned himself visibly grotesque, and she can see that, and she rejects him, which is like it's the monkey's paw. Be careful what you wish for. This isn't going to go and he actually says that in the Spider-Man trailer. So like, just all the irony here, and of course, ultimately destroys the entire universe, making the darkest possible scenario. Like this, there is not much darker you can be than destroying trillions upon trillions upon trillions of lives because of your own hubris and not even gaining what you sought out to do anyways, and ultimately being destroyed.
I think the thing that gets me too is the Watcher's basically like, even if I could help you, I wouldn't.
And he's like, man,
like he comes in so fast too. Like that's one of my that's when I knew things were getting I knew how this episode was going to end and how it was going to feel. Is when the Watcher literally just it wasn't just like slow I am the Watcher. This is what I look like, without like shadows and stuff on my face. He was just like he just zoomed in really quick and got in his face. And I was
very chastising too. I loved it. Jeffrey Wright's killing it.
All right, so Justin,
Scores.
rating for this episode.
Okay, this episode, it's hard. Like I'm not going to give it a 10, because it just I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch is acting at the towards the beginning. I think he could have been better. Like he's not used to voice acting.
We didn't really touch on the voice
He's
acting
not
as much.
he's not very good at the line delivery. Like he's fine, but there are parts in this.
Oh no, he did a really good job for Smaug.
You know, you're absolutely right. He did a really really good job for Smaug, but that was him playing a way more animated character, not animated in but personality.
True.
But when it comes to like this serious role, he didn't do I don't know who to blame. Like I'm not trying to put blame anywhere. I just think that it doesn't shine as good as
the line. Sorry.
No.
The line delivery for Benedict that I didn't like was him playing like the good Strange.
Yeah, like the beginning of
him playing like the new iteration of Strange. I think he did great. Like I felt like the tear in his heart. I felt like the emotions that he was dealing with.
Yeah, towards the end of the episode, he found the it works. But like when you first hear him and like for the first few minutes of the episode, it's kind of like
he found the Joker's laugh, essentially.
Is that actually Benedict Cumberbatch? Is that actually Benedict? And then yeah, it is, but
for me, when I want to compare something for a voice actor to finally find something, I just say they found their Joker's laugh because it took Mark Hamill like thousands and thousands and thousands of different laugh takes to get like the most iconic Joker laugh of all time. So when a voice actor finally gets that click for how they need to do a character, that's just the thing I call it.
Yeah, and that's not to say that he recorded these lines in chronological order, but it just when we're portraying the Strange that is everything's kind of working and like he's okay, he's a good guy. Like when he's talking to Christine, it might be too because we didn't really get to see him do that in the movie because he was kind of a jerk at the beginning from the get-go, whereas here that's like good guy Strange, which we've never seen like the non-cocky Stephen Strange. So it maybe not be that he was doing a bad job, it just wasn't, it didn't feel like it fell a little out of place for a bit, and ultimately it does work, but it's I did want to take like a point off. I think I'll give this a 9. A 9.
I think I'll put it a 9 too.
This I also it could have had a bit more of time to let us really sit with our emotions, and it I don't know, maybe a couple more characters.
I didn't want to sit with my emotions at the end though. I liked the sudden
not at the end, but when he initially lost Christine, they just kind of jumped ahead. Like we didn't get to really one of the big things when he got his hands broke. There's a good 15 minutes of him just straight up suffering in the first movie, whereas we don't really have that here.
Yeah, so, that's where except for the ground office. Yeah. That's where this would have played off as better as a movie, like you said.
Yeah, this feels like it could have been a sequel, and that's what I'm saying. I'm going to take points off just because I wish that Marvel would not be such a stickler for every what if episode has to be 30 minutes. Like you can make some of them a little bit longer. Granted, you might not have the budget for that, but you would do the stories a lot more justice.
For me, it's a 9 as well. I know we didn't we talked about the voice acting during this rating segment for this, but Doctor Strange voice didn't cut it for me as a good Strange. It didn't. I was
whole episode.
Good Strange and mainline Strange didn't cut it for me. But when he was Strange Supreme, I could tell he was trying to put forth some type of emotion, some forth effort of trying to be this I'm the tragic hero. Why is this happening to me? Type person, and
when he was
also terrifying when he was talking about all the creatures he was killing. He didn't have any remorse. for killing all these creatures that were just coming out of the portal. And I felt that. I was like, this man is heartless. That's why it says, what if Doctor Strange lost its heart? And he did a really good job of portraying that through voice acting.
That's very profound, bordering on pretentious.
And it's still saying a 9 for me, though, so high, because yes, the animation, and the point off for me too was the stagnant, like still walking around animation that What If seems to just, they can't get a hold of. They can't get a good walking animation, or like a good like just moving while sitting still animation. But their action scenes are so good, and they're just getting better and better and better. And this one was the highlight as of right now. Before we get into the next episode, this was the highlight of what you could do with like the animation that they had, that style of animation for fight scenes and action based scenes,
while also doing a new stuff instead of like in the second episode, all the stuff we've already seen with the like Thanos and the Black Order.
Yeah,
we've already seen all their fights.
Speaking of Thanos, I also like the universe being like, wiped out of existence was a different like animation style, not, being dusted by a snap. Everyone turns to dust. No, they were kind of like inky, like eldritch blobs just like floating off of people. And
very Kojima, very, exactly. It felt like Death Stranding.
It was
like
very new, and it was something that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. But I still,
we got to get Kojima to direct a What If episode. That would be sick.
My points off are just voice acting, like parts, like little notes and things that happened. Like I said, good, strange, and the animation still for just stagnancy.
I agreed. I'm a little softer with Good Guy Strange. Like I said, it felt out of place, but it was just a newer, different version of it. And I also do want to say Tilda Swinton and Rachel McAdams did an excellent job voice acting with their character.
Ancient One's always Ancient One, very stoic. There's been no change in that character. Every time we've seen Ancient One is very stoic.
Mm-hmm. And I thought Cagliostro Beignet, great.
Yeah, that new character was
great.
Pretty chill.
Great acting, great.
I felt bad when Strange came out of like his whole little hidey hole, pulling all the magic powers out, and like he's like old and dying, and I was like, dang, that sucks.
So where do we want to rank? Do you remember our rankings? So we had number 1 was episode 2. Number 2 was episode 1.
Yep.
And number 3 was episode 3. So where do we want to put 4? I would say
4 is above 2 for me.
I would say, so it's your ranking is episode
4,
2,
2, 1, 3.
This is your favorite episode?
As of right now, yes.
Okay. I don't remember your rank for the second episode. But I would say I still like the second episode better. This is
I think I put 2 as 9 too, a 9 as well.
Okay. I think I did 10 for 2.
I think I put it as a 9.
So yeah, 2 is still my favorite. This is my second favorite. 1 is, so what is Jake? 5, 4.
Well, I am a sucker for dark storytelling.
Oh, Jake is skipping ahead here. 4. 2 is your second to last, Jake? Wow. Okay. Surprising. So let's get into that's where we have right now, but that's not factoring episode 5, which is What If Zombies? That's just it. This is the zombies question mark. Very basic title. That's all you need.
Flat out the gate, I just want to say this is a great telling of what the MCU characters would deal with if the Marvel zombie storyline was implemented into the MCU storyline.
Yeah. Jay, I mean, episode 2 is T'Challa, Star-Lord. That's my number 1. So, I mean, obviously you're saying 5 is your number 1 here. So zombies, right? So this one, very cool. Just a very quick recap. Very quick. So,
oh wow, he put Strange down really low.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, so he liked Peggy Carter better than this, but like still, there's only 5 episodes. It's not like the first. I would say 5, 2, 1, and 4. Very very similar quality, different. I could see your argument for any of them, but the third episode where all the Avengers died is just kind of dumb and pointless, in my opinion. Not horrible, but just like not something I want to watch.
All I'm gonna say is Hank Pym does not need to be involved in storylines ever.
Yeah. So, and speaking of Hank Pym, so
Man's a
Marvel Zombies.
bubble.
We picked this off. This is where we get into. This is another retread of a story, and this time it's Infinity War. And it's right. The Hulk gets yeeted by Thanos, or technically the what's his name?
Bifrost.
Not that's the bridge. The dude who has the Bifrost.
Heimdall.
Heimdall. Yeah, Heimdall yeets him. Yeets him to Earth. He lands in the Sanctum. Ain't nobody there. Nobody there but the Cloak of Levitation, just kind of hanging out, just chilling, like waiting. He's probably new. That cloak is pretty clever. He's like, I'm just gonna wait on Bruce.
The Cloak is the best character in this episode. What are you talking about? He's so big, so amazing, so useful.
So anyway, Cloak of Levitation helps out Banner. They go outside, and who else? Who is out there? Who does he meet? The first person, is it Janet? I think it's Janet, right?
No, the first person he meets is Tony, and he meets
no. Those
Strange
are zombies. Those are
and
zombies.
Wong.
Those are zombies. I'm talking about the first person that's not a zombie. Wasn't it Janet? Janet Van Dyne?
I think so. Either
the
Janet
Wasp?
or yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, the Black Order comes out of the portals, but it's just Banner and the Cloak, and they're doing the Thanos thing, where they're doing the Infinity War entrance. Spider-Man, that's right. So, he does meet the Wasp first. That's what I was trying to think. But before that, the portals open up, and because he still won't turn into Hulk here, Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Wong, same characters from the beginning, they come out, but it's all smoky, and they start fighting the Black Order, but they're fighting them a little too aggressively, which Banner realizes. And yeah, they're literally eating. And I want you guys to go to the Canadian Lad on YouTube. He breaks down this episode. There is so much in this episode that is well done that you would miss if you're not really paying attention. For instance, Ebony Maw says you will be wiped away by the hands or something. He uses the word hands, and right as he uses the word hands, a portal opens behind him, and Iron Man hand sticks out. So it's like they timed it perfectly for that, and he just repulsor blasts him. No, I know. There's there's a lot of things in this that you wouldn't notice. Like watching the Canadian Lad break it down, it was like, oh wow, they really did this episode pretty well. And hold on. So we get that, and they're zombies. They have a little fight. Lucas might remember more about this, but they go. Ultimately, it's revealed that the zombie outbreak happened from. Oh, by the way, these zombies that are superheroes, they have their same powers. They're fighting like they've been fighting for years. Well,
it's the. I don't know if you've ever read it or know about it, but it is 100% the MCU's interpretation of the Marvel zombies canon.
Because some of the zombies could talk and none of these talk. So
that's the only differse. That's why I said it's like
that's a huge difference.
MCU. It's still, like I said, like what.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Not yet. We'll wait on that. But I just want to keep it contained because, like, the zombie virus, it's the meme is like if Marvel needs to figure out something with science, they just use the word quantum to justify it. And this is a 100%. Quantum virus. This is a quantum virus. Even Ant-Man says that in like the second movie. He's like, y'all just use the word quantum for everything. But yeah, so not Janet. Her name's not Janet. Who's the Wasp's daughter? Is it Janet? Janet is her mom, right? I'm forgetting.
It's Hope. It's Hope.
Hope.
Yeah.
Right. There is no hope. Anyway, um. So yeah. So Janet gets bitten by a zombie. Gets the zombie virus in the quantum realm when Hank goes to rescue her. Hank once again screwing everything up, just like he did in episode 3. He gets bitten. Both her and Hank come back out of the quantum realm and start infecting the world. And because superpowers are a thing, they're able to use their superpowers to enhance their ability to spread the zombie virus, taking over the entire world except for a handful of Avengers. Everybody else in the world is a
Yeah.
zombie. Everybody. This is
Like one of the things that was crazy was like they show like Captain America, Black Widow, etc., coming out of like a van to be heroic and stop these zombies, and all of a sudden, yonk, you get like little Ant-Man biting it, like Hank Pym Ant-Man biting at his neck.
But they had a lot of fun with this episode because not only do we get some of the most interesting pairings, like we've never seen Bruce and Peter together, we've never seen Hope with any of these people, except for the ending of Endgame where she's just kind of fighting. But we've never really seen her like have conversations with any of the other actors. Sebastian Stan here as Winter Soldier, but like the White Wolf version, like right after he left Wakanda, where he's got the long hair and the beard. He looks 100% spot on. That is the best transition from live action to animation.
Tom Holland looked bad. Like Tom Holland Spider-Man looked bad,
and
like,
he wasn't voiced.
Facial, yeah.
It's a different voice.
That was
I think
one of
the
my
voice.
that was one of my biggest beefs with this one.
I think the voice was adequate because a lot of people I think Tom Holland's voice for Peter is very easy to mimic because there's so many people on TikTok. I can't do it. Mr. Stark, I can't do it, but there's a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on YouTube that are able to mimic Tom Holland's voice. So, and I think this guy did fine. He's the only person in this episode that did not reprise his role that had speaking. So, the standouts for this episode, though, are Mark Ruffalo and Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is Ant-Man. Ant-Man is Ant-Man. He wasn't a standout because he just doesn't have as many lines.
He just hit you with that line, though, that, like, in my country, we don't believe in death.
Okay,
like I'm
not trying to say his acting was bad. No, his acting is just as good as it's always been. It's just like we don't get a lot of Black Panther in this episode. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that line was great. I'm not trying to cut you off or anything. Sorry. Thinking?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to make comparisons because there's so many good comparisons to the Marvel Zombies comic run to this episode. And I saw a lot of hate for this episode because the plot was bland, and I agree it was a very bland plot. But but it was overuse of action. It was all action and no plot. That's what I've seen talked about this episode. And I agree with that. But I like that they try to make one of my favorite Marvel stories fit the MCU characters.
I'll get into my beef a little bit later. So there's only two things I have beef with, but other than that, yes. Yeah. So like Jake brings it up. It's good for the amount of time that they had. Yes, 100%. Like that's my beef. Like the only thing that I wanted after this was more. Like it was just like, okay, that was a good first helping, but like give me more zombies because this was like just peeling back the curtain for what we could have because this episode chose to be it took the very opposite tone from the What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart. This is a lighthearted, fun tone. There are moments of depressingness, but they're quickly 90-degree turned away back into humor. This is a humorous episode to the point where there's
it was like Zombieland-ish.
Yeah, so there's a point where Bucky Sam gets turned into a zombie and someone Okoye I think is like, "Oh, I'm sorry Bucky. I know he was your friend." He's like, "I should feel sad, but I don't, which is in character for him because of his relationship with Sam has never at this point has not
I was about to say at that point.
evolved into like the bromance that we know from Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I think that's kind of like the audience, a wink and nod to the audience, because like, no, we're not really sad that anybody's turned into a zombie because we know this is just a fun side
I
story.
mean, from the whole like intro video, like the whole like joining the club video with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I
to,
was going to
like,
talk about that. Mhm.
the Russian from Ant-Man,
Dustin
him being,
or David Dastmalchian playing Kurt or whatever his name is.
yeah,
Polka
him
Dot
being in the
Man.
episode, him being in the episode and being very comedic.
Ugh.
Mark Ruffalo being very comedic. Like, it went from like a very dark telling of a story to another story that should have been super dark, but it didn't feel dark at all. Like, people were just dying. Like, people were watching people die from zombies. We were watching zombies in general, and I was wanting what I was wanting was more of like a Dawn of the Dead style, like remake Dawn of the Dead style, like dark story. I wanted another dark story.
Yeah, this is not dark
That's
at
what I
all.
wanted. I didn't want the comedic. I didn't want a Zombieland remake. like I didn't want Peter Parker, Zach, Jesse Eisenberg.
This was 100% a comedy, and to the point where like some of the jokes, like a lot of the jokes hit.
Like Happy Hogan going blam 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 blam.
My favorite joke of this episode is a blink and you'll miss it, but it's during the Spider-Man intro where it has the like little bios underneath the characters. Peggy Carter or Sharon Carter's bio is like things that she's good at. It's like spy, guns, and at the end of it says eulogies, which is just because she gave Peggy Carter.
I saw that.
It's like, how did Peter even know? Like, why is that a thing? That's just like meta commentary for the audience just to laugh at it.
Like, parts of the episode that really stood out to me is Janet's sacrifice. When we see Janet go big, Hope. We see. Hope
I did the same thing. I'm trying to correct both our mistakes.
When we see Hope sacrifice and we see Hope go big, and we see the sacrifice of what happened to her, like I felt it. I was like, dang, this sucks.
Well, I mean, it goes really dark, but it's
dark. But the comedic,
they just the circumstances are dark. The tone is not. The tone is completely the opposite, and that's what feels so weird. That's why I like when we do get to our scores. No, this is not perfect 10, but I like this episode a lot. But it like my other beef, like obviously, it's a 30-minute episode. Again, we talked about not every story has to be as short. Some stories could be 15 minutes if they wanted. Some stories could be an hour. Like they could play around with time, but they're just not doing that with the series. This could have used a whole lot more for us to have. We could still have some humor, but if you're going to give us like something really dark, give us some time to have Scott Lang actually feel horrible about Hope dying instead of like, oh, moving on.
Like this gives me hope that we could get a Marvel Zombies movie, not live action. I don't want a live action, but I want an animated.
It
Marvel
gives him
Zombies
hope.
movie.
It's funny because I hope
closer to the comic books version. I still would like that. It gives me hope though, because if they're willing to at least try, because they made with, like I said, it's a good comparison for what they would do for the MCU. That the fact they did it, and with the humor in it, it makes sense for the MCU with how humorous they've made this universe.
Well, and for the character, like we got the funniest character, some of the funniest characters in the MCU in this, with Peter and Sam and Scott Lang.
Yeah.
So we those are like, and Kurt, of course, from Ant-Man. I'm so happy that we're seeing more David Dastmalchian because he is such a good actor. He was Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad.
Good addition to the whole. I'll talk about the comparison to the comic book and in the episode in a second. But one of the things I like in addition is them using Wanda and Vision instead of something else. So in the comic books, T'Challa, like that, someone takes T'Challa and like starts to harvest pieces of him to keep alive, right? So in the comics, they all talk and they everything, and they have this thing called the hunger. It's never ending. That's why they have to eat. It's not because there's mindless zombies going out eating people. It's the hunger, this craving, and they like, start. If you stop eating in that universe, then you become normal again, where you don't have to eat, but you're still dead. So if you like lose half your head, you still lose half your head. In the second story, they start getting like metal attachments and stuff to become more, human-esque again. But so it's actually Hank that takes T'Challa away. So whenever they do a mass feeding and they find like a group of survivors, because they all go out in swarms together to harvest people, they don't harvest them, they eat them right away. So Hank took T'Challa, so him and Janet would have like a backup food source so they could slowly eat, so they didn't have to feel the pain of the hunger. And then Janet gets overzealous about it and sees that he has this like hiding food source, and she's like, well, I want to eat them all now. And he essentially knocks her head off. And then fast forwarding a little bit, he backhands her. And then fast forward.
If anybody doesn't know about Hank Pym in the comics, if you want to know like how dark the comics get.
So fast forward a little bit later down, Black Panther essentially becomes a zombie in that universe too. But the zombie that we see as a sentient head that's been cured is actually Janet, not Hank. Janet. So like the fact that we got a cured head in a jar, but it was Scott Lang, who is another one of the whole shrinking, growing like plethora of characters.
So this was actually taking more from the comics than I realized, because I didn't read that.
Yeah. Instead, it played really good into like it is, but like there wasn't really many humans. Like the comic books is more of them being superheroes as zombies, and we see them going out and killing things and being them. That's what the comics is. We don't see like a group of heroes as survivors trying to survive in the first couple episodes, the first couple stories. So Marvel Zombies 1 to Marvel Zombie 2 is more just about the zombies, and then the zombies becoming not
the only Marvel Zombies I read was Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies.
I liked that. Yeah.
And that one was more in line with the tone of this, where it's mostly just a comedy. But I also read some highlights. I remember there was like Peter Parker dealing with having eaten MJ, and
Mary, like, MJ and Uncle May, Aunt May. He ate both.
Uncle May.
He ate both of them.
What if Aunt May was actually his uncle? Anyway, so like that's going back to like my other beef is like they don't speak, so we're missing out on a lot of the potential that the comics gave us, where you get to see the struggles that the characters go through, having the hunger that Lucas was talking about. We don't get that at all.
Where we see some of them don't care about eating people, and they just want to keep the hunger and keep being a zombie. Like, okay, so we get Zombie Hulk in the comic books. I thought we were going to see him turn into it, because further on down the road, for them to escape to Wakanda, which is where they were trying to get to, because it was the last safe haven on Earth. Hulk finally comes out, because we're dealing with the whole like wussy banner, as I call him, because Hulk was still got beaten by Thanos. So we see Hulk finally come out and goes to blows with Scarlet Witch, who I was trying to segue into the whole comparison thing. Vision and Scarlet Witch is where it was Hank in the comic books trying to hold on to people and slowly feed off and like try and like keep the hunger at bay.
I thought Paul Bettany did great voice acting, but I think the best, like every time we see Bruce Banner played by Mark Ruffalo in What If, every time we've seen him, he's perfect. He is a really good voice actor. I thought Paul Rudd did a really good job, but he was only just throwing jokes out left and right for the most part. I loved so this like going into like kind of like our beefs with it. Lucas and I have very similar beefs, but in my opinion, I don't know if Lucas shares this opinion, but in my opinion, it's one of those things where because of those beefs, I don't want to like it, but it was so good, it was so enjoyable, and it worked so well for the MCU Marvel Zombies that it ended up being probably the best, if not the second best episode of this What If series so far, in my opinion.
I already know
Um,
my ranking, and I agree with you on that. It is the second best for me.
Yeah, I think 2 is number 1 still, but like
4 for me.
Okay.
Story wise, 4.
Story wise, yeah, but like as far as like an enjoyable, like quality episode. But anyway, so a couple things I want to touch on. I like how interesting, like they just did so much in this that, like for instance, there's the joke of, you know, how do you defeat Thanos? Well, you have Ant-Man fly through an orifice and then go really big. That happened in this. I think it was Hope flew
She went
into
into
Sharon, right, and then exploded. We got the interesting like Hulk turned into Hulk just in time for him not to be bitten by the zombie. We got
this episode was not scared to show gore.
Yeah, yes, it was. It was just because most of the gore, like when their heads came off, it was mostly ash. But when the only time they showed gore, it was purple and smudgy looking. It wasn't red. So you can show gore like we talk about Marvel to keep things PG-13. You can either have the characters fight robots or you can have them fight monsters. Zombies are included. Monsters, you give a different color blood, it becomes less it's considerably less violent in the minds of the censorship people, because as a kid it's the human factor is removed, so they didn't show human-esque gore. These zombies were dehumanized enough that the gore looked more like vomit than it did like blood. So I think, yes, I completely disagree with the whole gore thing. The goo was green and purple, not red, which zombies still red, in every other zombie thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. No, I'm just saying like limbs falling off and people like
we've seen limbs falling off. Like Cole Obsidian gets his arm cut off and it's severed.
I'm saying
he's
for
a
this
monster.
what if I'm saying for like a Disney Plus series so far. It didn't.
I think the most violent thing we've seen in
we saw heads fall. We saw heads fall. We haven't seen heads fall really.
I know, but I think the most violent thing on What If to me is in the first episode where Peggy kicks the guy in the leg and breaks his knee, and it's like, ugh.
That felt the most violent, but like Wong's head getting cut off by the portal, like Captain America getting sliced in half by his own shield, Sharon getting exploded.
They did as much as they were allowed to do. Probably that's probably where we're at. They did as much as they could get away with, and it wasn't much. Like
I mean, the only
I
thing
wanted more.
The only thing they didn't show us is them eating the humans, like actually eating, like flesh and blood. They didn't. They showed like when they killed Kurt or whatever his name is. Wanda pulls them into the thing. We just hear the noises. When Happy gets killed, we gets killed in the shadows. When Sharon gets bit, like we just see her kind of get bit. Yeah, rip in peace.
Happy. First off,
blam, 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 blam.
Great performance, great writing for him. I liked his shirt. He says something. I'm saving myself for Thor. Just so fun. Like this was the most fun I've had. I think I had a little bit more fun with like episode 2, but like this whole episode they were just having fun with. They weren't really trying to be any kind of profound. They do have like a moment where they do, but for the most part, they're just having fun.
This is the only one that doesn't seem like it could play into a bigger story for what the final episode of What If is, if they're actually doing the Guardians of the Multiverse. It also doesn't have any ramifications of what could happen in the MCU unless one of the zombies gets through a portal and then they have to deal with the zombie virus in the MCU in a live action film. That's about it.
Another thing I want to touch on too, just because I'm trying to highlight some things that stood out to me. Captain America's entrance, very reminiscent of his entrance in Infinity War. He's not behind a train; he's on a train, but it's kind of this silhouette, and then he's revealed, and he's got the shield. There's a moment.
Did you get the comparison to him and Bucky, where they both were on a train, and then he lost Bucky over the edge, and then instead Bucky's the one that basically cap off? So
Yeah,
it's like it's a very close
very
comparison.
train
yeah.
heavy. Bucky's just like, I like trains. But there's also like the Canadian lad, like I say, watch his video because he really breaks down some of the animation here. There's when Bucky's fighting Cap, when he punches the shield with his metal arm, there is sparks animated. When he punches the shield with his other arm, there is no sparks. And so it's these split second attentions to detail. Really cool. I like, I can't remember what happened, who it was, but like one of them during a fight, someone gets bitten by a shrunk down wasp or Ant-Man. I can't remember who it was. I just remember that happening.
It was Captain America.
That's how he got turned.
Yeah, that was when they said they all came out into the thing, and you got hit by a Ant-Man.
I also liked another. They showed us Peter's strength again, where he webs a train and starts pulling the train, just to show you like this is how strong Spider-Man is.
But instead of stopping a train this time,
he's starting the train. Which it's just there's a lot of like little things you can find with this. And again, I think we've confirmed at this point Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like as far as like ability to lift things and strength. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the strongest cinematographical. I don't know. Cinema Spider-Man we've gotten so far.
Most accurate Spider-Man so far.
Accurate, like in terms of like powers and personality, but not like what he experiences. Very, very, very different than Peter in the comics, like what he experiences. But anyway, different conversation. We're talking about zombies. So, Mark Ruffalo's great. There's a moment where Peter is talking about all the people he's lost, where he name drops Uncle Ben for the first time. Granted, he's alluded to him.
And his parents. He talks about having to dealing with the loss of his parents.
And when he says Mr. Stark, Banner is behind him, and like right when he says Mr. Stark, he like looks sad, like behind Peter, which is just one of those attentions to details in the background that you really got to pay attention. Like they really took care to craft, like they know these characters, they're telling their story.
The walking and normal movement animation looked the best out of any of the episodes in this episode as well.
Yeah, and I was having a good time, so I wasn't able to like really analyze like the animation as far as that goes, because it was good enough. I enjoyed it enough to not have to think about that kind of stuff, which means that it's a good quality episode. And what else was I gonna say? So Ant-Man as a head in a jar, very funny. He's like, I'm just dealing with my problems by telling dad jokes. And
very Futurama.
Yes, and
like 100% what I thought about it the whole time, because all the stupid heads do is make jokes all the time.
And I liked the what was it when he's talking about Spider-Man's like all the Avengers are gone, and Scott's like not all of them, and he's like, oh yeah, technically, are you an Avenger? He's like, well. Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess. I think I'm an Avenger. Just some fun dialogue. We get like I said, we get the one emotional scene where Peter's talking about how he's lost everybody. Hope is like, how do you stay positive? And he's like, well,
smile for me, Peter.
Smile for it. So we do get that like emotional scene, but it's sad. There's been a lot of memes about it being like really feely, but like. Nothing in this episode really gave me those emotions. I was very shocked that, like, to be honest, like the most violent thing they showed this episode to me is like Vision just straight up commits suicide.
Yeah,
like this is the equivalent of him stabbing himself. Instead, like just imagine someone reaching into their chest and pulling their own heart out. That's what he does with his head. Like the Mind Stones.
So
he just rips it out.
So they have the Mind Stone at this point in this in this part of the movie. Sorry, in this part of the episode. But at the end of the episode, we see Thanos, zombie Thanos, with all the Infinity Stones. So where did he get those Infinity Stones from? He clearly went after Peter and all them.
Yeah, so presumably Captain Marvel's not a zombie. Presumably Thor is not a zombie. So technically, they could still defeat Thanos in the future.
Zombie Hunter, Captain Marvel with her freaking mohawk and like punk outfit and apocalyptic costume.
But I think it's a safe bet that it's only Bruce, Peter, Head, Scott, and T'Challa with the one leg are heading to Wakanda.
But Wakanda's overrun by zombies,
and they I think it's a safe bet they're going to be dead when they get there. I don't think they're going to be able to withstand an army of zombies and Thanos.
Did you see the comparison to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead ending to the end of this movie?
No, because I've never seen his Dawn of the Dead. So.
Oh wow!
You know this? I've told you this.
I forgot.
That's a
at the end of their
written by what's
at the
name
end of
Suicide Squad.
At the end of Scott Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, like all the characters.
Zack Snyder, not Scott Snyder.
Yeah, sorry. Another Snyder that I'm really into. I always get the two mixed up when I'm talking fast. But at the end of Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead movie, all the survivors are going to an island that is guaranteed to have no zombies on it because zombies can't survive in the water, basically, right? Like there's no way there could be zombies on the island because there's no way for them to get to the water. But as they're going to the water,
no way home.
If they find when they're fishing, they pull up a zombie head that's in the water and et cetera, et cetera. It's a little fun end scene. But when they cut to the island, they're like, oh, it's safe. And all of a sudden, zombies out of the island, right? Exact same feeling at the end of this movie, at the end of this episode, like with the zombies banging on the outside of Wakanda. I was like, dang, this sucks.
This ended like an Alien movie where, hey, they finally defeated an alien, but no, there's an egg still on the ship about to hatch.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Ant-Man.
I think he posted that a little bit ago, but yeah. So again, I think we'll wrap this up because getting to be 2 hours here. This episode to me is probably the episode that I'm going to rewatch the most. Like as far as like what episode, if I want to have a good time with what am I going to throw on? This episode 2, episode 1. If I want to be depressing, depressed one day, I'll throw on the Doctor Strange episode. I'm probably never going to watch the one where all the heroes die because I just did not enjoy that one.
You know what I just made the connection to? What if Doctor Strange lost his heart? Is the Joker episode like the Joker movie? Like how you don't want to watch that movie, but it's such a good movie.
Oh yeah. Like you don't have to have something that is fun to be really good.
Yeah.
Because the Joker is not a fun mood watch. Doctor Strange is not fun. Like it's a little bit more fun because you do get to see like the super magic powers and stuff and new environments and cool sci-fi, but for the most part it's just a sad what if scenario. But
I thought it was a fun comparison. I was like, there's something about the Doctor Strange episode that made me think of something else, and I was like, wait a second, that's what makes me think of something else.
And so going into like the rating of this episode, I'm starting to wonder if there's like a trend where this is about 50-50 because I like Peggy Carter episode, but it's just not doing anything really with the potential they have with What If. Just like the characters dying, it's just retreading things, redoing things the same way, just with slight changes. But I like it when What If takes its opportunity to give us different variations of characters, give us new characters, give us new environments, and give us completely new stories. I think this one does. Of all the episodes we've seen so far, I think this one has the second best outing of that because this one does my favorite thing that What If does is it gives us new pairings of characters with different versions of characters. Like Spider-Man getting the cloak of levitation, we didn't even talk about. Like that's something new. That's something that we never would have thought we would have got. That's and just like good guy Thanos fighting with non-cyborg Nebula, with a romance between her and Chala, and Howard the Duck, and the super powered mob boss Collector, with all of these new environments, new pairings, and new dynamics. We get to see those. This episode does that a lot too, where we get to see Sharon and Hope, which we haven't seen a whole lot of in the movies, come together. We get to see how they interact with the other characters. We get to see, you know, uh, Bucky kind of interacts with characters we haven't seen him interact with. And we get a lot of this one kind of borders on retreading, because it does start off with, yeah, it's Infinity War. Yeah, Captain America shows up with the train. Yeah, it ends with Thanos and Wakanda with all the stones. But it still feels very unique, very different, and we do get a lot of those great pairings. So yeah, I mean, I'll give this one another 9. Maybe a little bit more, because I do think it's nah. I'll just stick with a 9.
8 for me.
Okay.
Too much funny. Too much funny for me.
Too much funny.
Too much funny. I wanted something dark with zombies. I wanted to.
I'm
have
surprised
emotion.
you let that expectation get the better of you, because I didn't think there was any way we were going to get that.
I wanted something. After seeing how good of a dark story they gave us with Doctor Strange, I was hoping they would give us like a compelling dark story for zombies, and like feeling the emotion of like what would happen during a zombie apocalypse. Not Peter. If Peter being the funny point makes sense, because that's his character, when his coping mechanism when he's as Spider-Man, when he's like either threatened, or when he has anxiety, or when he doesn't know how to deal with a situation, that's his coping mechanism. So it makes sense for him to be like, making movies as a modern day kid. It makes sense for him like trying to make these crack jokes.
Trying to
That
cope
makes
with,
sense.
yeah.
But we don't need to have everyone else in the episode still cracking jokes.
It doesn't feel natural. It feels like it was written, because if these characters were dealing,
it feels like an SNL skit to me.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly.
That's what it feels like.
If these characters were actually dealing with what they were dealing with, not a single one of them would be making a joke, because there is a point in time when you can no longer use humor as a coping mechanism. That's when everybody in the world is dead and trying to eat you. You can't use humor to make
like
things
Bruce
better.
has comedic moments. Bruce has comedic moments as a character, but like what he was doing and how he was handling himself in this episode isn't Bruce Banner that we dealt with, because he has these like dark emotional feelings that he has, like, that he can show, but we didn't see that. We just saw like happy-go-lucky, haha, everything's funny, Bruce Banner.
I love his line. No, we get the ending where he's like, "I'll sacrifice myself for you guys to go."
But
so
it didn't feel earned. That whole
yeah, it did, because he
didn't feel earned.
Well, it's earned from the other movies. Yeah, I think you're right, where this episode doesn't earn it.
Hope felt right. Hope felt right. She wasn't like making crack jokes all the time. She was being a like stoic person, like the stoic leader of the group of the survivors. That's what she felt like.
I think Bruce is earned from Endgame, which obviously hasn't happened yet, where he's like, I gotta be the one to snap my fingers, because you will all die, and I know I might die, and I never wanted, like, Bruce has always been the reluctant hero. Like, of all the archetypes, he's the reluctant. He's like, I don't want to be an Avenger. I just want to be Science's Bruce Banner, but I know that I have to be, like, after the first Avengers movie, he's like, yeah, I guess I'll be the Hulk, because he's really good at fixing things and solving problems. So I'll just do that. But I think in Endgame, when he takes the gauntlet and he snaps his fingers, that's him earning what he does in this, which isn't fair, because that is something that happened in an alternate universe way into the future, like 6 years into the future. Whereas this is just happening. He specifically hasn't earned that, but it does make sense for Bruce in that we as the audience know. I also wanted to point out the joke where he's like talking to Peter, and Peter's like, "I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." He's like, "What the hell happened to the neighborhood?" Like, just the best delivery.
It took all the best parts from some of the best zombie media and put it together into one show at one episode.
All the best parts.
Because like Zombieland was a phenomenon, right? So like all the comedic timing for what happened in Zombieland, we got that in here. The way things happened in Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, that's one of the, I think, a better zombie movie. They did a lot of things from there, like the whole ending, how it happened. Like they took what was well known for a lot of zombie movies and they put it into one episode. I don't think that worked. They should chose one thing they wanted to do and stuck with it, in my opinion. Like if you
Well,
wanted
you
to have
had a
like
good time with the. I know you're giving it an 8, so that means you still had a really good time with it.
Oh, I had an extremely good time with it
Yeah.
because I like zombie medium still. I'm
and
a kid
that's
of the early 2000s. I'm like I was a teenager, like young adult in the early 2000s. So like remember when zombie culture was the boom when we were younger? Like I come from that era, so of course I'm gonna love it. But I just wish I would have had a darker story, feeling the emotions of what happens in a zombie apocalypse.
no. I
from
mean,
the
it's
characters.
again, it's my beef is that it is not what I
A
wanted.
better story. A better story is what I wanted.
It is not what I wanted, and I didn't want to like. It's like when I wanted something. It's like when you order something at a restaurant and they give you something else, and you're like, I'm going to tell them to take it back, but let me try it. And you try it, and it's like, well, actually, this is pretty good. It's not what I ordered, but I'm going to keep eating this because it's really good. And you don't want to like it, but you do. That's where I'm at, where it's like, I wanted something different. I didn't, this is not what I wanted, but it is still really enjoyable. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think it was done very well. Granted, I hope we get more zombie content and it's more in line with what you were talking about. That is something I highly doubt will ever happen. Especially as long as Disney has its mouse clutches on the Marvel Universe, we're going to get this softened down. Let's not take too much our like adult content risk with anything but what is already 100% proven to work. Deadpool,
But that's
let's
the
not
thing
do
that I
anything.
like so much about the last episode. That's why I said like the last episode before this.
No,
Like,
I mean, like,
psychologically, that was something that you wouldn't expect from Disney to put out or allowed to be put out
no,
because of
but
how
at the same
much of a
time,
mind
yeah,
screw it is.
yeah,
So I didn't care about overly over the top gore, over the top whatever. I was expecting like a little bit like we got. Like I said, it was pretty gory for like an MCU story, which I was okay with. But I wanted a darker story. I wanted them to have to deal with more emotions.
yeah,
wisecracking
yes,
the wisecracking jokes. Yeah, that's why.
yes, that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
what we wanted. We didn't get that, but I personally, I'm not going to say I'm okay with what we got because it's not what I wanted, but what we got was actually way better than I expected.
Yeah,
This kind of
um,
story to be. That's why I'm going to give it a, I gave it the 9,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm going to put it high on the list because
Yeah.
this is only episode 5.
I think for my flaws, I went in with an expectation with the show, and I've been doing so good at not going into any property with expectations, and that's why I've been enjoying
No.
the heck out of a lot of things.
On the first
But
episode, you said I'm saving my 10 out of 10 for the zombies. Like you needed to save a rating for that, where it's just like that's nonsense to begin with. But like I was like, you're not. It's not gonna.
And
it's
it
not
didn't.
gonna
It didn't meet the mark, and that
It's not
upset
gonna
me
hit it
because
you're shooting too high, bud. You gotta.
I don't think any of these episodes are going to hit me 10 out of 10. I don't.
Well, I think you're coming from you have like what tattoo you got on your arm right there? What's that tattoo? Yeah. So you tend to and you tend to lean towards the darker aspects of like the cynicism, the horror, the tragic aspects of superhero storytelling, which Marvel shies away from, Disney shies away from, and I think you're right. I think if you were going to get something that would be 10 out of 10, it would be something like the Doctor Strange episode,
100%.
but with a different character that you resonates with you a little bit more. Which I don't even know. Like I don't. I know Captain America is not really going to be a focus, but other than Cap,
Like, what
I
if Spider-Man lost Aunt May, like, as well? Like, what if that
yeah,
was
we
what if that was like, you know what I'm saying? It just became like a Punisher. We got Punisher Spider-Man instead, where he like kills his enemies instead of, you know, what if we got that story? I would have
where he
probably
webs
been a
people
10 out
down
of
the
10.
throat. They would never do that with Spider-Man. They might have Aunt May die, but it's just going to be about Spider-Man dealing with tragedy and still being a hero because that's what
Coping.
makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. But the yeah, I'm just like I don't see how they like like as a what if episode. These are all going to be neutered by the fact that Disney has to keep it
Their clutches.
somewhat family friendly. Because I'm not Doctor Strange is something that like the Doctor Strange episode is something that teenagers, younger kids could watch, but without like
But not understand at
no,
the same time.
they probably won't understand like the actual tragedy of it, but like you're not there's not a lot of swearing, there's not a lot of gore, so it's not like hey you cannot show this to children. Where usually when you're talking about those types of stories, that type of subject matter, that's when you're going to have like you couldn't tell like let's say they did go the route you're talking about with Spider-Man, they would never in a million years show him horribly like webbing someone's throat like he does in the comics or threatens to do. He doesn't do that, but he threatens to do that. Um and you would need to do that in order for that story to resonate at your level, and they're not going to do that. So that's why I say you need to bring your expectations. You don't have to grade anything 10 out of 10, but I just say don't get your hopes up for anything being that dark. And
And
I
I don't
think
I didn't expect dark episodes. So that's what I think. It's like I might like the darker aspects of comic book and storytelling, but it wasn't what I wasn't expecting a dark episode to be a 10 out of 10. When I saw the zombies, I kind of expected it to be darker. I did expect it to be darker. So I was like, the fact that they were touching on this, I was like, this is probably going to be my favorite episode because Marvel Zombies is one of my favorite like side properties from Marvel. But it didn't. I didn't expect the Doctor Strange episode to exist the way it did. I didn't expect that. I didn't. So I was like,
very
wow,
surprising.
this is a very me episode. This is a very like me style storytelling. And I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I was wondering because I was like, I don't really know where you're at with your Doctor Strange admiration, but I think I know now. I didn't know before. I think I know now. But and then the other thing is like since we're talking about that, I am trying to wrap this up, but I did want to ask like Moon Knight and Blade have me a little
They have me worried.
not worried but just anxious because
Well, Blade's going to be
I
PG-13.
trust
Already confirmed.
right, but like I trust Marvel to tell a decent story without resorting to like without having to go R rating. But it is very unfortunate that you're taking characters like Blade, Venom, Morbius, Moon Knight, and not giving them
I mean,
the
Venom is a
treatment.
PG-13 rating still.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it could have been better. Like that's something that needs the R rating to really do those characters justice.
And I don't want just an R rating for the sake of having an R rating, but these characters are an R rating as character. Like, say, take DC for example, right? Suicide Squad did not work as a PG-13 rated movie because the first time outing. But granted, whole their flaws, but it did not work with a PG-13 rated outing because of the material and the source, like what happens to them. Same as if they put Red Hood. If they put Red Hood into a live action setting, finally, we can't have him in a PG-13 rated setting. He's a very R rated character.
Yeah, but Disney's idea of PG-13 is like like Dark Knight, right? If you're looking at Dark Knight, if someone told you that movie was rated R, the only like you could go in watching that going, yeah, I understand how this is rated R. It's not. It's not rated R, but it is dark enough. The subject matter, when you see Harvey Dent's face missing on his right side, on his left side, where is like gore galore all over his face, it looks like an R-rated movie. So you like, but they're able to do that story justice with the PG-13 rating. So it's not like they can't do a Moon Knight or Blade story justice with PG-13. It's just that Disney not typically bold enough to go dark, give those characters like the justice they need.
The
Moon Knight would
one,
certainly
I'm
need
not.
to be R-rated.
The Moon Knight one, I'm not as concerned about the PG-13 rating because I'm not a big connoisseur of Moon Knight, so I don't know what I can or can't.
Moon Knight is the mouthiest superhero behind like Deadpool. He says the F-bomb over and over and over and over again. He's also insane. He's also
I know like the character. I just don't know the stories he has.
I'm
Now,
just saying,
Blade,
like,
I'm more worried about because of the stuff, because of the material that is dealt with within the story of Blade.
it's also from having seen the Punisher and Daredevil and Jessica Jones and like Luke Cage. We've seen those on Netflix rated M, rated R, and we've seen the potential that Moon Knight and Blade has because of those shows. So knowing that they're not going to have that, do they have to? Kinda, like to reach the level that Daredevil did. Yeah, that's what they need. But the shock value of like the iconic scene of Kingpin slamming a guy's head in with a door shows you how much of a
100%.
threat that Kingpin is. Whereas Thanos, yeah, we have Thanos beat the Hulk at the beginning. We have Thanos crush Loki's head, but Thanos isn't really trying to murder everything. He's trying to murder half the universe and knock people out of the way. He's not
in the
trying
most
to
simplest
kill.
way possible.
Yeah, path of least resistance. This isn't personal for him until it is. Like it does become personal, but for the most part, it's just doing his job. Kingpin, very personal. Moon Knight, very personal character. Blade, very personal. Very. We need that extra rating, and I didn't want to go that long on it, but that's why I'm a little worried. Like Marvel Zombies, yes, there's dismemberment, but there's no gore. Like the gore is ash and purple vomit. So, anyway, we've already rated this. Let's do the ranking. Mine, T'Challa, Star-Lord, number 1. Marvel Zombies, number 2. Doctor Strange, number 3. Captain Carter, number 4. And dead last, number 8. Number 20. The What If the Earth Lost Its Mightiest Heroes, which is just not an episode I ever want to watch again. So, yours?
Doctor Strange, Marvel Zombies, T'Challa, Peggy Carter, and number 3. Episode 3.
Yours is your last place is the same as mine.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to change unless we get a hot stinking turd.
I'm really worried about the. I don't know if I know there's at least 2 more because I know we got the Killmonger one with Tony.
I think that might be a 10 for me. No, I don't want to say that again. I don't want to say that again. I don't want to say that again. I'm just making the callback. I'm just making the callback.
Oh, you're joking? You're joking? Okay. Sorry. I was like, yeah. I don't know. That is so you that I wasn't sure that was a joke, but that was funny. Oh, God.
We have that one, and we have like the Emperor Ultron, whatever.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So we have Gamora like right above you, above your head. Gamora, Thanos, right above my head. Ultron, Vision, and then Killmonger. So those
is that the last 3?
I don't know if those are like I don't know if those are each their own episode. They probably are because of the way the poster is structured.
We still have
But-
to have the Avengers transfer to the Guardians.
that might be the Gamora one. But I don't know. I don't know how many episodes are. Do you? So
No, not at all.
I'm just worried. Like, are they just not having any content for a while after this ends? Because Hawkeye doesn't come out till like November, December. I think December. So they said Miss Marvel is coming out by the end of the year.
Maybe Miss Marvel comes out before Hawkeye.
It's so weird though, because it's only a couple months away. If that's the case, and we haven't gotten
So
a
then
trailer
Hawkeye
or a
might come
release
out
date.
before Miss Marvel.
You think they'll have two at the same time, simultaneous shows?
Mm.
Or you think they might do like, because with WandaVision didn't they do the first two episodes on the same
Yeah.
day?
Yeah.
You think they'll? I don't know. This is weird. Maybe they were just incorrect because presumably there's no way Miss Marvel's coming out first because they would have given us that release date first, and we would have a trailer either this week or already. We would have had a trailer because we had Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer almost a year before it came out. But I mean, granted, it got delayed. But I'm so confused. Is Hawkeye just gonna be like 4 episodes?
I mean, Loki was only 6.
But yeah, but that's still a month and 2 weeks.
I know. I'm just saying.
No, I no, I'm not like arguing. I'm just saying like I'm just thinking I'm free associating of like how's that's gonna be. But anyway, we will be there for all of that content. So please remember. First off, thanks for watching. Please remember to
Yeah,
like
guys.
the video. Thanks, Jake, for commenting, engaging with us, having those conversations. Remember, subscribe to our channel, share it to your friends. It really
Yes,
helps
please.
us out. We're really trying to grow here. We're trying to, obviously that we're late on this episode, but that's because of Shang-Chi, which took priority. We had that out immediately, which we're probably going to do with Eternals as well. Maybe Venom, depending on how Venom is. That's October 1st, I believe.
Yes, it is.
So again, please, we'll have these every week. Keep coming back. Like and subscribe. Till next time, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. This has been Pretentious
Pop.
Culture. Later, host.